How long can you leave in curlers before it becomes an issue?
You can leave them in as long as you want because they cool off.
Would your hair like eventually just like stay wound up like that though?
No, it's naturally going to fall because they're velvet rollers. So
I've never used rollers.
yeah.
Although I'm thinking maybe I could get a sweet coiffed out of it.
Absolutely.
It's so funny. You've got like a little bobby pin sticking and look.
It's not a bobby pin. It's a roller clip.
Okay.
So I have used hot rollers since like 7th grade. Yeah.
So you're like, I am a professional.
Sit down.
I am. That was pretty in sync.
It was. I love it.
Okay.
Are you starting the timer?
I sure did.
Okay, great.
Last time I didn't start the timer. That's why I think we particularly went over.
Okay, so it's so funny because I saw 28 minutes and I'm like, why is he thinking that we went so far over? Because it says 28 minutes. Like,
I think I waited like 5 to 10 minutes to actually start the timer.
Oh, shit. Okay, sorry.
Whatever.
Yeah. Okay, let's go.
I still think it was a good episode.
Oh, it was a fabulous
But it's not
episode.
going to be as good as this one.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, so Tyler.
Glennda.
Things have changed since season 1.
A lot has changed. A lot has changed.
Can I just say right now, like, my vantage point of the, like, chest is, like, massive.
Do you like it?
I mean, I love it. I mean,
I was thinking about getting my nipples pierced. I'm not going to. So you can take that face off. So I've already made my decision. That's not one of the big personal life updates I have for you.
I wonder what that feels like.
To me, just thinking about it, I have a thing called a vasovagus nerve. Apparently it's a real thing, and a lot of people have it. It's when you have the sensitivity level of when somebody tells you about something that happened to them, like a surgery or a pain, or they fell or they hit something, you feel it on your body. So when people talking about getting their nipples pierced, all of a sudden my nipple starts to like throb. It's a weird thing. That's why I can't watch like Grey's Anatomy or ER. My friend Austin made me sit down and watch an episode of Grey's Anatomy, and do you know, it was just a car accident. I went to the bathroom and threw up.
Oh my stars and stripes.
It's a thing.
I mean, I haven't seen like personally anybody's nipple pierced, but just the thought of it, because that's such a sensitive, like,
yeah.
And I don't.
My whole body is clenching right now. I need you to know I feel it.
But this is the thing: is like I don't want to mess with the sensitivity. I'm like, even like it's supposed to heighten it, but like, what if it didn't heighten it? What if it deadened it? I would be like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah, I am good with where we are.
100%. I'm happy as a clam.
Okay, I want to talk about the fact that we filmed season 1 at the end of February.
Correct.
And then we both got really busy. Our lives were insane.
Yes.
And our poor editors in New York pinged us like 500 times to a point where they're like, we need your approval on these edits so we can proceed. And then finally got an email being like, guys, we're going to have to move on to another project because you and I were just like, our lives have gotten huge.
Yeah.
They've really gotten huge. And so much has happened since then. We've gone out of our way not to talk to each other.
Right.
And I feel like you have some big things to share with me.
Well, I wanted you to go first.
Well, that's why I took control first, so I could ask you first.
So a lot has been going on.
Okay. We're talking about personal life.
Right.
Because we have so much going on that we decided to break this down into 2 episodes. So the next one will be business updates, but we're talking personal life.
So, lots personally. Probably.
Should we start with the fact that you have a roommate now?
Oh my God.
I mean, what a great update that is.
Yeah.
Glennda, at age 55, has a 21-year-old roommate subletting an apartment in the basement of her gorgeous 4,000 square foot home on the side of a mountain in Atlanta, Georgia.
So I may get in a lot of trouble for this. Okay. So it really seemed like a great idea. This house, like the layout of it, like there's 2 primaries on the main floor, and my bedroom is on one side and the other primary is on the other side, right?
Right.
But and when I bought this house, Lucas was kind of in and out. You know, he was dating someone. He was spending a lot of time at their apartment, at her apartment, and he wasn't really ever here. But I had this apartment on the terrace level in the basement and it has a private entrance, and it just made sense. Like, you know, if he was at home or going to be home or anything, that he would have that room. So that room is directly below my room. Okay. And this house was built in 1975. And we moved here in February. And I was seeing someone in March. And the relationship, you know, kind of got to, you know, a certain level, and they were spending the night here.
What?
I know.
Pre-wedlock?
So they were spending the night here, and admittedly, you know, I mean, you know the situation with my marriage, with my previous marriage. There was a lot stored up.
Oh, this is why we do the podcast.
I mean, there was a lot of, you know, I just hadn't really
let loose.
It wasn't as much let loose as it was, I really hadn't felt anything in so long. And so I started seeing somebody, and got to a point where he was spending the night here often, and it was okay because Lucas was not here, and you know, didn't really matter what we did or where we did it or anything. And so then subsequently Lucas and the girl broke up, and Lucas says to me, "I'm gonna have somebody over tonight." Well, I'm not 21 years old. I'm not calling my girlfriend Deanna and saying, "Oh, hey man, I'm going to spend the night at your house tonight." You know, like Lucas is having, I'm like, that's not, I mean, I'm not leaving my house, right? And so I'm in my room, and
this is not where I thought this conversation was going.
I was like, that did not happen. Like, that did not happen. I'm texting Victoria in the middle of the night. I hope and pray you are never in a situation where you are hearing your son have sex. It was awful. So
wait a second. Why does this keep happening to you? Why? I mean, every year there's
so Lucas comes upstairs the next morning. She's
smoking a cigarette.
She's long gone. And I said, you know, I think we should have a talk. And he's like, yeah, Mom, what's up? And I'm like, my bedroom is directly over yours. Yeah. This house was built in 1975. Insulation, not very prevalent. And he goes, oh, I know where this is going. I'm like, I'm just going to tell you right now, if she's a screamer, you're going to need to either cover her mouth or warn me first, because I thought I was like, this is not happening. You can't even imagine this. But then I have to tell you, the first thing that came to my mind was like, thank God he was not here.
Oh, when your overnight guests were here. Oh, wow.
It was crazy. It was crazy. So anyway, so back to personal updates.
So you're adjusting to having the roommate.
So I'm adjusting to having a roommate.
And now he puts a pillow over everybody's face.
Let's hope not. Okay. As I said, I had been dating someone, and things were going well, and it turned out that that they were very busy, and I was not prepared for.
When you say busy,
number one, he wasn't divorced.
Oh, busy with.
And number two,
other people.
Number two, he was dating lots of people. And so kind of like, we hadn't had an exclusivity talk, because if I need to tell you don't be on the dating app, then obviously you're not in a relationship with me, you know?
Right.
I mean, this is, in my opinion, it's a decision that you come to. Like if I said to you, hey, Tyler, like we're together, like I don't want you on this dating app. If I've got to tell you that, then we're really not together.
Right.
So
I actually had a moment 2 boyfriends ago and that was the last time I was on dating apps. And that's not how I met him, but he knew I was on dating apps when we were first starting to date.
Yeah.
And I do remember a few months in when we were like started to get more serious, it was like a sweet moment. I was like, guess what I did today?
yeah.
I deleted my dating apps.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm so smooth.
Yeah.
I really know how to hook them. I deleted the Hinge today.
Yeah.
Wink, wink.
I mean, it was like he said to me, like, you're the only one. Like, I mean, but I have to tell you. So he was like the first person I had dated after my divorce. And it never occurred to me, like, love bombing. Like I wasn't familiar with this term or anything, but I mean, the guy's text game, like his phone game, like, I mean, in person, like you can't, just the great combination of sweet and sexy. And I mean, I was just head over heels. I was completely and totally smitten. In fact, I had met him on the app prior to me coming to New York. And I was with you when I started talking with him, and kind of high profile job here in Atlanta, I mean, again, I was so new to the whole dating thing, but what I learned from that was maybe to kind of look at things a little bit, I look for the best in everybody.
Yeah.
I romanticize the potential in everyone. And so I think it taught me kind of not to do that. But I'm actually not on dating apps right now, currently.
Are you attending anonymous meetings about weaning yourself off?
No. But
because they do become quite an addiction.
Well, I mean, the interesting thing is, I've met, a couple people not on the dating apps that definitely are interesting to me, that I want to learn more about, that definitely are, quality people that, whether it is a long-term dating thing or not, that just great people to be around. So, but personally for me, I think it's been a lot of growth. And recently my son-in-law was in an accident. Mm-hmm. And watching my daughter go through that changed me. It changed me in my core. And so it's not all about how many houses can I sell, how many videos can I make, how many stages can I speak on? It's really just how much can I love? And every second of my life is so valuable to me.
Yeah.
So, because I saw my son-in-law, my son-in-love, nearly lose his life.
How's his recovery going?
He's continuing to improve. I think what I realized watching my daughter and my son-in-law go through this was that it is in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to be intentional about the people around me. And I want to be very intentional about loving well. So yeah, it's kind of where I am.
Wow. Past, I guess let's call it what, 7 months, 6 months? It's been 6 months since we filmed the first one. And not too dissimilarly from you, I was, at the time of filming that, I was in a relationship that I was, really excited about.
Yeah.
And honestly, I didn't mention it on the last one, but, one of the hardest things for me, like one of the biggest regrets listening back was I talked about that person a lot on last season. And so when I was hearing those things, it was, in the beginning, it was pretty gut wrenching. And I moved into a place of acceptance pretty quickly because I was like, oh God, we were broken up pretty shortly after we filmed. It was like probably 4 or 6 weeks later, we broke up. And I have to be totally honest with you. Part of the reason that listening to the podcast was hard for me is because I think I already knew in my gut that we were moving towards the end of the relationship as we were filming it. And I was trying to stay positive, and nothing bad happened. You know what I mean? We were both really good to each other. There was no betrayal. There was no backstabbing. There was just nothing. Nobody's a villain in the situation. I learned a lot about what I'm doing in terms of just I need to find somebody if I'm going to share my life, and we're doing a dating episode. I have a lot of thoughts on this that are just right now, honestly, they're just thoughts, and I'm just thinking them through, and I'm like, is that how I feel? Because I'm still not 100% certain how I feel about what a relationship looks like for me. But it's just a classic case of we wanted very different lives in the end. That's all it was.
Yeah.
Is and I think because we liked each other so much, there's part of me that it's well, I can make adjustments for you because that's what we're supposed to do in relationships, and he'll make adjustments for me because that's what we're supposed to do in relationships. And I don't believe that anymore, if I'm being honest. And we'll talk about that in the dating episode more. But that's kind of where yes, adjustments, but they should be adjusting upward. You know what I mean? I don't want to, meaning that the combination of the two people should be an explosion. And that, at least that's what I want.
So I think that a lot of people feel compromise is a requirement for a successful relationship. And I would probably say I don't like the word compromise because I feel like it's synonymous with settle. Mm-hmm. What I love is, and I never will forget hearing this. And the girl's name is Andrea, and she's in California, and she did something on she did a little thing on the 5 a.m. club, and she goes, "My life changed when I traded expectation for acceptance."
Yep.
And
that exact thing has been the work of the year for me.
And that's the thing is like when you talk about compromise or, compromising up, I can't remember exactly what you said. I would challenge you to remove the word compromise and understand the difference between expectation and acceptance and understand your ability to bridge the gap between the two.
So, all of my coaches, and this is something that is so hard for me. I actually filmed a bunch of content around this. It's like, how do you live a life of no expectations? Because that's the advice I'm given by all the gurus is no expectations. No expectations, no disappointments is what they say. And so it's like, I'm doing my best, and my best is not a dictator of the result always. And so like the only thing I can do is live in a high standard, right? I can hold myself to high standards and say, this is how I perform. This is what's important to me. And I think I did a good job of that this year because like the other, so I guess a big life update is that I'm single. I'm single now and I'm really enjoying it. I have had a very fun summer. But what I really did this year was like I doubled down on my passions. And that was something that was really important to me coming out of last year. My business has gotten really big. My life has gotten really big. And I'm like, wanted to take a bird's eye view and be like, what do I want to focus on my passions? And when I tell you this horse stuff with me, my equestrian life has exploded into an obsession that I never thought it could be. And it's challenging because, believe it or not, being so obsessed with like the equestrian life has actually made me more passionate about the work that I do because honestly, I have to work hard in order to fund that.
Horses are expensive.
Oh, don't get me started. If you knew how much I spent on my horse life every year, you would smack me and ask me to leave at once.
But you know what? I don't, and somebody made a comment on our podcast when you talked about the 5 properties.
Oh, I haven't watched.
I can't even relate to this. Like, do you realize how bad this sounds? I can't even relate to this. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, goodness gracious. Like, how small are you thinking?
Yeah.
And my dreams don't have to be your dreams. And like when I see you talk about your horse life, you're so excited.
It's so much fun.
Like your eyes are like dancing with joy. And I don't think like my family is from Tennessee, and I have a cousin. And I guess he's not my cousin. His ex-wife was my cousin. Remember, I'm from Tennessee, so it's on the flow chart's a little crazy. But anyway, his ex-wife is my cousin. And this guy talks about this car, that he loves this car, Huckleberry. So your thing is horses. His thing is this, it's a drag street car, race car thing. And that's like his passion. And he gets so excited when he talks about it. So who is someone to judge your passion?
Thank you. And the lesson there is going back to what we were saying about taking a poll. That's why you don't do it.
No.
Yeah, you're not going to make your decisions based on somebody's small mind and their own limiting beliefs. That becomes part of you, right?
Yeah.
And so like that's why you have to be very careful about who you're going to for advice. Because if you're going to these small-minded people who think that everything is crazy and who think it's just obnoxious to say it, I'm like, well, that's why you are where you are. It's not relatable to you because you haven't asked for it, because you haven't shown up for it. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I don't know this person, but
yeah, I didn't know them either. In fact, I don't remember if it was a man or a woman who made the comment, but I responded and I replied to it and I said, this comment makes me so sad. And I don't know if they thought that it made me sad because they said it. What it made me sad for was that you felt the need to talk about someone else's dreams. Like, I I want Denver, whatever his dream is, I want to help him. I want to encourage him. I want to build him up. I want to pour into him so he can realize, grow his dreams, expand his dreams. Like, if your dream is where you already are, like, is that a fucking dream? And how dare you, say anything about somebody else? Anyway, that rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just, I do think it's part of the human psychology.
Yeah.
Big things are going on for people.
Big
Things are going on for us. There are always going to be people around that person who is having their moment who just can't get behind them.
Yeah.
And it's usually for something that's going on in their own world. And it's just important because there have been several things that have happened in my life this year. I mean, the whole podcast could just be about shit we have going on.
Right.
But there's been several things that have shown up for me and I've gotten really excited about. And there's always somebody there to tell me why it's going to be a disaster. There's always somebody, and you just have to decide where you let that lie in your soul. Right. I usually go at it with compassion because when somebody is so negative, I'm just like, oh God, they must be really going through it right now.
Yeah.
They can only see it through the lens of life that they've been living.
Yeah.
They don't see that. I'm a believer. I kept saying it to you yesterday. I'm Tyler Whitman and amazing things happen to me.
Right.
And it's, I don't, this isn't me projecting into the future. That's me living in the reality of everything that's happened to me in my life so far.
Yeah.
And, and I'm very blessed. I'm very grateful for all of that. But, now I can't let that change when a random person on social media has a comment to say, but I can hold compassion for them because I know they're coming from a place of whatever their experience has been.
So I sent you a text message when that episode came out about, how happy you were and how in love you were. And I think all I said was, I know that this must be a difficult one for you to listen to. Looking back, what would you have done differently?
Nothing. So the first time he came up, I was like, oh, I was trying to jog my memory because I hadn't heard all the episodes yet. And I was like, how much did I talk about him? And believe it or not, it was actually a new friend, somebody that I went on a few dates with and now we're friends. He was listening to it. And I was like, yeah, that was pretty painful to listen to. And he's like, why? It's where you were at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's right. I was like, I was happy and in love at the time.
Yeah.
And it was actually pretty great advice. And as soon as he said that, now that's how I listen to everything. I'm like, that's where I was when I said it.
Yeah.
And we change.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about that this season because people don't allow space for people to change.
Right.
And they hear one thing and they hold them to that forever. And that's why I think that topic will be important. But girls, pineapple time. Should we call our listeners, our listeners, the Napples? You don't like that at all?
No.
Okay. Well, we'll keep on brainstorming.
Yes,
Napples.
we will.
I like Napples. I also liked From the Gas Station to the Bus Station. Glitter and Gay is a lot better.
Glitter and Gay is so good.
Honestly, we crushed it with the name.
But can I just ask a question?
We're playing a voicemail.
Okay, but wait a minute.
Ask the question.
Okay, so because we're in front of everybody else, and so I've been a little bit nervous to ask the question. I really want to change our picture.
You do?
I just feel like I look better now than that picture. I feel like that picture's not quite so natural.
Honey, it's such a good...
It's a little photoshopped.
It is.
It's a lot photoshopped.
You're like, I've had so much filler since then.
The natural looks so much better.
We're playing a podcast or a voicemail.
Okay, go.
Hey, Glennda and Tyler. I absolutely adore both of you. You complement each other so well, like my coffee with milk every single morning. My burning question is, how do you handle the haters? As an agent who is mildly successful, I'm already getting a lot of negativity from envious quote-unquote competition. So I can only imagine what the two of you rock stars have to go through, and I would love to hear how you handle it. Thanks, guys. Keep on podcasting. Don't ever, ever stop.
I know who that is.
Oh, you do? I don't. Who is that?
Okay. So that is my girlfriend, Margula. I call her cousin.
Margula? I love that name. I've never heard that.
I call her cousin Margula.
Okay. I love her voice. She has a cool speaking voice.
Selling Brooklyn one brownstone at a time. That's her little thing.
Really?
Yeah. She goes, hello.
Oh, wait, she's up in Brooklyn?
Yeah. She goes,
how have we not met?
Hello, this is Margula. Selling Brooklyn one brownstone at a time. She's tiny too. She's petite. And I met her on Clubhouse, and I just love her to death. She's such a special person.
Well, now that I know she's in Brooklyn, I actually know exactly what she's talking about. I went through the exact same thing. You know, we rose through the ranks in Manhattan and Brooklyn, and I felt like there was a time when I was up and coming that so many people were like, patting me on the back. They were like, good for you. We know it's hard. Stick with it, kiddo. And then all of a sudden I was like, I stuck with it. I took your advice. And now it's just like the fangs come out.
Yeah.
And it's, and it's different, and not from everybody. But the two things that, firstly, it builds my confidence.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, if the haters are out, I'm like, oh, I was like, they're scared of me. They are scared of me.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's literally the first thing I say. I don't even. And then the second one is, I literally, if they're like vocalizing, if they're saying things behind my back, I'm like, oh, I am taking up some real estate in their head.
Right.
Like, oh, they are like, your biggest fans are the people who are scared of you. And, so take it as a compliment. Let it fuel you in the good way, because it means that you have arrived, honey. Margula is here to play.
Absolutely.
And the athletes are starting to get scared.
Oh, yeah.
And so, let that like be the little engine inside of you, because here's the thing. If you don't have haters, you have work to do.
Absolutely.
You have work to do for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I echo everything that you said. I remember like the first time that I heard somebody like, oh, like, do you have any idea what people say about you? And I'm like, oh my stars, like, seriously? And this one guy, and in fact, this happened last August, and we were going to an event. He's with a different company. But we were both being honored by this magazine. And he says to me, he's like, that like people don't like you.
Was this recent?
It was last August.
Wow.
And at first I was like, who doesn't like me? Like everybody loves me. Like what are you talking about? And he's like, oh yeah, everybody talks about how difficult you are. And I thought to myself, so a couple things went through my head. I wondered, do people think I'm difficult? And I'm okay with that, because I know 1000% that everything I do is for the betterment of my client, to protect my client, to protect myself, my team. So it's not like that I'm being difficult to get the transaction done, because from an ego perspective, anything that I'm doing is out of sheer protection of whomever I'm taking care of. And then the other thing that went through my head was, I wonder if you just think I'm difficult.
Yep.
If you're just the one who's jealous. Because I was like, why would you say that to me? So, but again, to me, I don't give a shit what anybody thinks about me. I'll be honest. I don't care about the haters. I am 55 years old, and love me, hate me, do whatever you want to, because I will assure you, when I get the inkling that your intentions aren't in my best interest, please be assured that I will delete you. Mm-hmm. I will block you, and I will take you out of my space.
Yep.
Like that. And I will have no remorse. Like, I have zero remorse. And this is my deal, is anything you say about me, you damn sure better be prepared to say to me.
Oh, of course. To piggyback on that guy, he did the thing that is the biggest immediate sign of weakness. I call it the invisible army. When somebody says, oh, you know, everybody thinks this.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we all feel this way. I'm like,
yeah.
Who? I'm like, speak for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, you are not a politician.
Right.
I'm sorry. You are not speaking on the behalf of a party. You are speaking for yourself, and you are so afraid of your own opinions that you had to bolster it with a bunch of invisible people and create your invisible army because you're like, I'm weak on my own, but if I talk about the masses as if I'm their guru, I mean, that's like, as soon as I hear everybody or we all, or, you know, everybody, I'm like, okay, you weak son of a bitch. I mean, that is just like the instant thing in my head.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. I was like, if that's how you feel, we can have a conversation about it. But if that's how everybody feels, I guess I'm going to have to publish an article.
Yeah.
Like,
It was interesting though, because we went to this event, and I touched on this last night. So I went to an event with that guy. We're with different companies, and we're going to this thing, and I'm standing there and I'm talking to him at this event, and this guy walks up behind me and he goes, I would know your voice anywhere. And I'm like, and I turn around and look back. This guy is drop dead, make your mouth water gorgeous. I mean, stunningly beautiful.
Do you think he listens to the podcast?
Possibly. Maybe.
Girl, we've gone way over time. Okay. So if he does listen to it, he's going to know that he was the button in more way than one. Oh, and if he's listening, can you ask him to please rate, review, subscribe, share. Like, poke, comment. Please. That's it. That's it. And listen, maybe a DM wouldn't hurt.